Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. India joins Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and G20 Inclusive Framework Tax Deal of Global Corporate Tax. US military pulls out of key military airbase in Bagram after nearly 20 years. India registers strong protest with Pakistan over security breach of Indian High Commission complex in Islamabad. COVAX facility calls for equal recognition of vaccines. India expresses hope that Indians vaccinated through domestic vaccination program will be treated at par with those vaccinated in the European Union. Angela Merkel meets UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on her final visit to England as German Chancellor. In Wimbledon tennis, Ons Jabeur beats 2017 champion Gabriela Muguruza in a major upset. In Eurocup football, Spain play Switzerland while Belgium will take on Italy in the quarterfinals. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is going on, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also to help others to get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. India has joined the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) and G20 Inclusive Framework Tax Deal of Global Corporate Tax. India's Finance Ministry in a statement said that the members of OECD and G20 countries adopted a high-level statement containing an outline of a consensus solution to address the tax challenges arising from the digitalization of the economy. The Finance Ministry statement said that the principles underlying the solution vindicates India's stand for a greater share of profits for the markets. It said India is in favor of a consensus solution which is simple to implement and simple to comply with. At the same time, the solution should result in allocation of meaningful and sustainable revenue to market jurisdictions, particularly for developing and emerging economies. The global corporate tax was proposed by the United States as the Global Minimum Tax (GMT). The tax deal was adopted on Thursday in the OECD and G20 Inclusive Framework on Base Erosion and Profit Shifting (BEPS). BEPS refers to tax avoiding strategies used by big multinational companies that exploit the gaps and mismatches in tax rules across the globe. US President Joe Biden in a statement said that the agreement marks an important step in moving the global economy forward to be more equitable for workers and middle-class families in the United States and around the world. A report.
Around 130 countries, representing more than 90% of the global GDP, adopted a global corporate tax rate of at least 15%. The negotiations aimed at ensuring that large multinational enterprises, MNEs, pay tax where they operate and earn profits, while adding much-needed certainty and stability to the international tax system. The countries agreed to a 2-pillar solution to address the tax challenges arising from the digitalization of the global economy. The first pillar seeks to address the problem of establishing nexus between MNEs and the market jurisdiction. This is a challenge because of the borderless nature of the digital economy. A new special purpose nexus rule has been agreed upon wherein a certain amount will be allocated to a particular market jurisdiction if the MNE derives at least €1 million in revenue from that jurisdiction. Pillar 2 seeks to put a floor on competition over corporate income tax through the introduction of a global minimum corporate tax rate that countries can use to protect their tax bases. A minimum rate of at least 15% was agreed upon in Thursday's negotiations. In a statement, the OECD said that it is estimated to generate around $150 billion in additional global tax revenues annually. The countries also agreed on a fairer distribution of profits and taxing rights with respect to multinationals, including digital giants such as Amazon and Google. However, Hungary and Ireland were part of a small group of countries that did not agree on the tax rate on multinationals. The technical details of the proposal will be worked out in the coming months, and a consensus agreement is expected by October. This is Pawan for World News, AIR.
The U.S. military pulled out of the Bagram airfield after nearly 2 decades on Friday. Bagram airfield was one of the largest U.S. military air bases north of Kabul. It was the epicenter of the war to oust the Taliban and track down the Al-Qaeda perpetrators of 9/11 terrorist attacks. The exit ahead of September 11 deadline that the Biden administration has set for the complete pullout of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. The airfield was handed over to Afghan National Security and Defense Forces in its entirety. An Afghan official said the base would be officially handed over to the government at a ceremony on Saturday. A U.S. defense official said General Austin Miller, the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan, still retains all the capabilities and authorities to protect the force that are stationed in the Afghan capital, Kabul. In exchange for the U.S. withdrawal, the Taliban have vowed to prevent any international terrorism from Afghan soil. They've also made a commitment to enter into talks with their Afghan rivals, but little progress has been made in negotiations. Meanwhile, authorities in Kabul have claimed that the Afghan National Security and Defense Forces, ANDSF, have killed over 6,000 Taliban terrorists in June. Most of the casualties were reported in 12 provinces, mostly in northern and central Afghanistan. Almost 120 districts were evacuated by the Afghan government following offensives by the Taliban. Data show that the number of targeted attacks and explosions decreased during this period, but the level of casualties among the security personnel and civilians continued to increase. Army spokesman Mohammad Hanif Rezai informed on Thursday that in a recent development, Afghan airstrikes killed 33 Taliban terrorists in northern Balkh province. Meanwhile, Afghanistan's Ministry of Defense said the Afghan security forces have increased airstrikes on Taliban positions in several regions in a move to recapture the districts lost to the Taliban.
In a major security breach, a drone was spotted over the Indian High Commission complex in Pakistan's Islamabad. The Indian government has registered a strong protest with Pakistan over the incident. The incident came to light amid growing concerns in the security establishment in India after explosives-laden drones were used to carry out an attack on the Jammu Air Force Station on 27th of June. Since last week, at least 5 drone activities have been reported in Jammu. Replying to the media query, spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Arindam Bagchi, confirmed the breach of security.
A drone was spotted over the premises of the Indian High Commission in Islamabad on 26th June this year. This has been taken up officially with the government of Pakistan. We expect Pakistan to investigate the incident and prevent recurrence of such breach of security.
Morning, 2 explosives-laden drones crashed into the IAF station at Jammu Airport in the early hours of Sunday, perhaps the first time that suspected Pakistan-based terrorists have used unmanned aerial vehicles in an attack. One of the blasts caused minor damage to the roof of a building, while the other exploded in an open area, the Indian Air Force informed. No damage to any equipment was reported. However, 2 personnel suffered minor injuries. Drones were spotted hovering over vital army installations in different areas of Jammu during night hours on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Earlier in the week, India raised the issue of drones being used for terror activities at the UN. New Delhi said being a low-cost option and easily available, utilization of these aerial and subsurface platforms by terrorist groups for sinister purposes such as intelligence collection, explosives delivery and targeted attacks has become an imminent danger for security agencies worldwide. India asserts that it has zero tolerance policy against terrorism and it condemns terrorism and all its forms and manifestations. Speaking to the media, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson said all countries must take credible action against it, including by putting an end to cross-border movement of terrorists, ending their safe havens, infrastructure and their financing channels. Mr. Bagchi said India has asked Pakistan to take credible, verifiable and irreversible action against terrorist networks and bring the perpetrators of Mumbai and Pathankot attacks to justice.
Regarding the Jammu Air Force Station case, the investigation is in progress. As far as terrorism and terror financing is concerned, we have a zero tolerance policy. We condemn terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. All countries must take credible action against terrorism, including by putting an end to cross-border movement of terrorists, ending terrorist safe havens and infrastructure, and their financing channels. In this regard, we call upon Pakistan to take credible, verifiable and irreversible action against terrorist networks and proxies operating from territories under its control and to bring the perpetrators of terrorist attacks, including the 26 November Mumbai attack and the Pathankot attack, to justice.
Meanwhile, Mr. Bagchi also commented on the recently concluded meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs.
As you are aware, the 22nd meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs, or the WMCC, was held on 25th of June. Both sides agreed to maintain dialogue and communication through the diplomatic and military mechanisms to reach a mutually acceptable solution for complete disengagement from all friction points so as to enable full restoration of peace and tranquility and enable progress in the bilateral relations. They also agreed that in the interim, the two sides will continue to ensure stability on the ground and prevent any untoward incident. The two sides also agreed to hold the next, that is the 12th round of senior commanders meeting at an early date.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged the Myanmar military to release the ousted state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi and President Win Myint immediately. The associate spokesperson for the UN Secretary General made this remark on Thursday after thousands of other detainees were released by the military government of Myanmar. On Wednesday, the military government released more than 2,200 people, including journalists, who were detained during the anti-government protests in the country. According to the human rights group tracking political prisoners, Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, AAPP, the government has detained 6,462 people since the protest started after the military government removed the Aung San Suu Kyi-led civilian government on the 1st of February. AAPP reports that 885 people have been killed in the protests during the same period. India's cumulative COVID vaccination coverage has exceeded 34.41 crore mark. As per the 7 p.m. provisional report on Friday, the cumulative figure stands at 34 crore 41 lakh 158. As a new phase of universalization of COVID-19 vaccination commenced from 21st June, more than 38.88 lakh vaccine doses administered on Friday. Union Health Ministry in a statement said that 20,08,217 vaccine doses were administered as first dose and 97,458 vaccine doses given as a second dose in the age group 18 to 44 years today.
The Union government has said that country is registering a significant decline in active caseloads and fresh cases amid the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. With this, the recovery rate is continuously improving and it has reached 97% in the country. Briefing media in New Delhi today, Joint Secretary of Health and Family Welfare Ministry Love Agarwal has said the country is witnessing decline in the daily number of cases due to continued efforts of containment and restriction strategies. He said country has reported over 46,000 cases during the last 24 hours. Mr. Agarwal has said that the country is witnessing a decline trend in case positivity for the last 8 weeks. However, 71 districts in the country are still registering case positivity more than 10%. Terming the vaccination a major tool in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Agarwal has said over 34 crore COVID vaccine doses have been administered to the beneficiaries so far across the country. He said 27 crore 95 lakh first dose have been administered to the beneficiaries and 6 crore 6 lakh second doses have been given to the people so far. He said India has administered the largest number of COVID vaccine doses in the world so far, followed by the United States of America, wherein 32 crore 81 lakh vaccine doses have been administered. He said the country has administered on average over 39 lakh doses in the last month, which shows that the pace of vaccination has picked up in the country. Mr. Agrawal has said despite the decrease in the COVID-19 fresh cases and positivity rate, people must rigorously follow the COVID-19 appropriate behavior. Niti Aayog member Health Dr. V.K. Paul has cautioned that the second wave of COVID-19 pandemic is not over and the people should not lower their guard against this deadly disease.
थर्ड वेव आना नहीं आना हमारे हाथ में है. हमारे तैयारी रहेगी थर्ड वेव की, बहुत ज्यादा तैयारी रहेगी. रूरल एरियाज में बच्चों के लिए फैसिलिटीज, बेड, आईसीयू, वेंटिलेटर्स, ऑक्सीजन, दवाइयां, कंटेनमेंट की स्ट्रैटेजी, वो सब तैयारी रहेगी, टेस्टिंग. बट एट द सेम टाइम अगर हम डिसिप्लिन हैं, दृढ़ निश्चय रखते हैं, तो ये वेव नहीं आएगी और नहीं आनी चाहिए. देश का संकल्प ये होना चाहिए कि हम किसी भी नई आउटब्रेक को आने नहीं देंगे.
Pregnant women can now take the COVID vaccine. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry today gave its nod for the vaccination of pregnant women. The decision was taken by the Health Ministry on the recommendations from National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization (NTAGI). For getting vaccinated, pregnant women can register on COVID or directly go to the nearest COVID vaccination center. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry has prepared an operational guideline for vaccination of pregnant women, counseling kit for medical officers and frontline workers. The procedures and modalities of COVID-19 vaccination will remain the same as it is for any beneficiaries above 18 years of age. Chairperson of COVID-19 Working Group of the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, Dr. N.K. Arora has said that both pregnant women and children can be saved by COVID vaccine.
The External Affairs Ministry has expressed the hope that Indians vaccinated through domestic vaccination program will be treated at par with those vaccinated in the European Union EU countries, and the COVID vaccination certificate will be recognized by the EU on a reciprocal basis. In reply to a question during the weekly media briefing, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said that EU has instituted an EU digital COVID certificate for exempting restrictions on the movement of vaccinated people.
We understand that the European Union has now instituted what is called a EU digital COVID certificate for exempting restrictions on the movement of vaccinated people. Our expectation is that Indians who have been vaccinated through our domestic vaccination program would be treated at par with those vaccinated in the EU, and the COVID vaccination certificate would be recognized by the EU on a reciprocal basis. We are in touch with EU member states in this regard for reciprocal acceptance. I understand that a number of EU countries have already taken positive steps in this direction.
Meanwhile, sources have said that the European Union country, the Netherlands, has fully recognized the Serum Institute of India manufactured Covishield vaccine for the travellers. The country has accepted this vaccine as a valid proof of vaccination against COVID-19. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, on Friday said the recently announced monetary, regulatory and fiscal policy measures will help in the economic recovery that has been severely dented by the ferocious second wave of COVID-19. As per the 23rd issue of the Financial Stability Report, FSR, sustained policy support, benign financial conditions and the gathering momentum of vaccination are nurturing an uneven global recovery. In its report, the central bank flagged emerging threats to economic recovery from soaring commodity prices, new COVID variants and spillover effects from international markets. However, the RBI said the financial system is resilient enough to deal with such jolts. The report also highlights the gross non-performing asset ratio is likely to increase to 9.80% in March 2022 as compared to 7.48% in March 2021. The report said the ratio may increase to 11.22% under severe stress scenarios, even though banks have sufficient capital both at the aggregate and individual level.
Now, let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. Australia will halve the number of arrivals from overseas. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced that Australia will now only accept 3,000 travellers from overseas per week. He added that lowering the cap will be finalised by 14th of July. Morrison also said a 4-phase plan has been agreed to reopen Australia after lockdowns triggered by the latest outbreaks. Australia shut its international borders early last year, largely to non-citizens. Permanent residents and returning Australian travellers, except those exiting New Zealand, had to quarantine in hotels for 2 weeks at their own expense. The United Arab Emirates had banned its citizens from travelling to several countries including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal and Sri Lanka. This comes after UAE last month extended the travel ban on passengers from 14 countries until July 21st in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. The UAE's Foreign Ministry and the National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority stated that with the start of the travel season, citizens need to comply with all the precautionary and preventive measures and related to COVID. The UAE authorities also instructed citizens to adhere to self-isolation if they get COVID-19 positive during their travel and to ensure compliance with all instructions, requirements and health protocols applied by their host countries.
Meanwhile, the Global COVAX facility has issued a joint statement calling for equal recognition of vaccines. In a joint statement, COVAX commended countries that have already shown commitment to equity as well as safety by accepting travellers protected by all vaccines validated by the WHO emergency use listing and or the 11 stringent regulatory authorities approved for COVID-19 vaccines. The statement added that any measure that only allows people protected by a subset of WHO-approved vaccines to benefit from the reopening of travel into and within that region would effectively create a two-tier system. This would further widening the global vaccine divide and exacerbating the inequities in the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
The centre is disseminating awareness of national helpline numbers for the benefit of citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic. The helpline number of the Health and Family Welfare Ministry is 1075. The child helpline number is 1098. For senior citizens of Delhi, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the helpline number is 14567. The helpline number of National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, NIMHANS, for psychological support is 08046110007. Ayush COVID-19 counselling helpline number is 14443 and MyGov WhatsApp help desk number is 9013151515.
Welcome back. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is on her first final visit to the UK before she steps down from her post later this year. Prime Minister of UK Boris Johnson welcomed Chancellor Merkel earlier in the day. Germany is the UK's second largest trading partner. In a statement, the UK government said that the Prime Minister and Chancellor are expected to agree to a number of new initiatives to expand the links between the UK and Germany across a range of sectors. And now a report from the business world.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange climbed 166 points, 0.32% to finish at 52,485. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also gained 42 points, 0.27% to settle at 15,722. In global equity markets, Asian shares today traded mixed. China Shanghai Composite Index plunged to 2% and Hong Kong's Hang Seng declined 1.8%. On the other hand, Japan's Nikkei 225 rose 0.3% and Singapore's Straits Times Index added 0.2%, while South Korea's Kospi ended flat. European shares were in the green but trading in a narrow range in intraday trade. Crude oil prices fell more than 0.5% in intraday trade. Brent crude prices were trading around $75.40 per barrel. Back home, gold prices climbed at 300 rupees at the multi-commodity exchange for August contracts amid gains in gold prices in the international markets. Gold was trading at 47,340 rupees per 10 grams. Silver prices also surged 550 rupees to trade around 68,705 rupees per kilogram for July contracts when reports last came in. And the rupee today weakened by 19 paise in afternoon trade to 74 rupees and 75 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary for World News, All India Radio.
Moving on to sports now. World number one Novak Djokovic brushed aside a stiff challenge from America's Denis Kudla to move into the Wimbledon fourth round today. Djokovic, who is eyeing his sixth Wimbledon and third title on the trot, saw off the 114th ranked Kudla at straight sets by 6-4, 6-3, 7-6. Djokovic's 75th win at the prestigious Slam thus marked his 13th fourth-round appearance at the Grass Court Slam. The Serbian is vying for a record equaling 20th Grand Slam, which will move him level to Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. In Wimbledon tennis, in a major upset, Tunisia's Ons Jabeur beat 2017 champion Garbine Muguruza. Jabeur came from a set down to beat Muguruza by 5-7, 6-3, 6-2. She will face Iga Swiatek next in the fourth round. In Euro 2020, Spain were leading 1-0 against Switzerland in the first quarter-final when reports last came in. Jordi Alba gave his Spaniards an early lead which they protected going into half-time.
With around 20 days remaining for the start of the Tokyo Olympics, All India Radio brings a special series on India's medal prospects at the Sporting Extravaganza. Today we will talk about India's pugilist Amit Panghal Singh.
Ranked number 1 in the world in the 52 kilogram category, Amit Panghal with his fierce punching is a strong contender for a medal at the Tokyo Olympic Games. A strong passion for boxing and a burning desire to achieve something for the nation keeps Amit going during tough times.
स्टार्टिंग में जैसे हमारे पास ग्लव्स तक के पैसे नहीं थे, इक्विपमेंट खरीदने के पैसे नहीं थे, तो मैं दोस्तों से इक्विपमेंट होती थी मैं उनसे ग्लव्स लेके या इक्विपमेंट लेके मैं ट्रेनिंग करता था उस टाइम.
Amit's father, Vijender Singh, did everything he could to support Amit during such tough phases so that Amit becomes a better boxer.
पहले जो है ना मेरे ऊपर काफी दबाव था, खाने पीने का, ग्लव्स का, कुछ और सामान खेल का लाना, उसमें जो है ना मैंने कई बार दोस्तों से भी उधार लिए पैसे और यहाँ तक कि 1-2 बार कर्जा भी उठाया.
Amit has several achievements to his name. He won the gold medal at the 2016 National Championship. In the 2018 Jakarta Asian Games, Amit brought golden glory to India. In 2020, Amit secured a spot in Tokyo through his success at the Asia-Oceania Olympic qualifier. Amit's nifty footwork and his combination of attack and defense sets his boxing style apart.
मेरा जो बेस्ट है वो मेरा काउंटर पंच है और मेरा इन आउट काफी अच्छा है कि मैं बॉक्सर के अंदर जाके उसको पंच लगा के बहुत जल्दी से स्पीडली वापस बाहर आता हूँ. अगर हम अच्छी प्रैक्टिस करके पीछे आए हैं तो हमें इतना कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्कुल रहेगा कि हम अपने अपोनेंट के ऊपर अच्छे से हावी हो पाएंगे.
The government has extended full support to Amit's preparation for the Tokyo Olympic Games.
BFI का और साई का बहुत ही बड़ा रोल है हमारी बॉक्स, क्योंकि जो भी हमें चाहिए होता है हम BFI को या साई को ही बोलते हैं, वही हर चीज हमें प्रोवाइड करवाती है.
By virtue of his sheer determination to overcome every challenge and his ability, Amit is determined for big achievements at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Arjun Chaudhary, Sports Desk, AIR News.
Soman Mondal, hailing from West Bengal's Mednipur, has won the very first edition of AIR News Olympic Quiz by becoming the fastest to send the right answer. Coincidentally, today is Soman's birthday as well. AIR congratulates Soman on winning the quiz and wishes him a happy birthday.
मैं सबसे पहले आकाशवाणी और स्पोर्ट्स कैन की पूरी टीम को धन्यवाद जानना चाहता हूँ. टोक्यो ओलंपिक से पहले इतनी सुंदर ओलंपिक क्विज आयोजन करने के लिए. आज मेरी बर्थडे है और इस बर्थडे में स्पोर्ट्स कैन में क्विज जीतना और आकाशवाणी से बात करना अब तक की मेरी बर्थडे की सबसे अच्छी गिफ्ट है.
All India Radio's Olympic Quiz, launched on Thursday, has received a tremendous response from across the country. Hundreds of listeners have emailed their responses. To take part in the Olympic Quiz, tune in to the Sports Scan program. A quick look at the headlines once again. U.S. military pulls out of key military airbase in Bagram after nearly 20 years. India joins Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development OECD, and G20 Inclusive Framework Tax Deal of Global Corporate Tax. India registers strong protest with Pakistan over security breach of Indian High Commission complex in Islamabad. COVAX facility calls for equal recognition of vaccines. India expresses hope that Indians vaccinated through domestic vaccination program will be treated at par with those vaccinated in the European Union. Angela Merkel meets UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson on her final visit to England as German Chancellor. In Wimbledon tennis, Ons Jabeur beats 2017 champion Garbine Muguruza in a major upset. And in Euro Cup football, Spain plays Switzerland while Belgium will take on Italy in the quarterfinals. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan Vaishnavajan by artists from Belgium. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.